to Metals and Momentum. And so if you're new here, I write an investment newsletter. It comes out on a bi-weekly basis. You can subscribe to the free version. There is a paid tier to the newsletter as well. It gives you access to a little bit more details as to what specifically I am doing with my own money. There's trade notifications on the paid tier of Metals and Momentum, but also I allow my Substack subscribers to send me direct messages and tell me, what they actually follow in their own portfolio, and I will start to monitor those assets alongside my paid subscribers. And one of my paid subscribers actually sent me the NVIDIA chart, and he was looking to exit his position. And I thought this might be a good example of showing you what you actually get in the Metals and Momentum paid tier. So you can actually send me charts, and I will take a look at them and give you some guidance. Of course, it's not personal investing advice or anything like that, but I could tell you what I would do with my own money if my own money was tied up in a specific stock or asset. I could definitely tell you what I would do with that cash, especially really helpful for people who are looking to exit positions and want to know when roughly is a good time to consider exiting that position. And that's what we do over on Metals and Momentum. The link's down in the description below. So I'm going to pull up the NVIDIA chart here, and I'm going to show you something, because this Substack subscriber was asking me, should he consider exiting NVIDIA right now? And one of the things that I immediately identified when looking at this chart is a head and shoulders pattern. So you get this big bump up. I'll even highlight it with some yellow. Big bump up here. We get a head that's over here, and now you formed the shoulder. It almost tried to negate the pattern right here, and I was saying to my Substack subscriber, you should probably consider selling right about here, because the risk here is that you start to dip lower and then you complete that full head and shoulders pattern, and you would essentially end up right here. I'll explain how we get there in a moment, but if you just look at where we are at right now, it's played out pretty much bang on. Like I said, it was only a couple trading days ago when this Substack subscriber asked about this, and I said we should look to exit the position right about here. And that's what I would do with my money if I were invested in this stock and looking to get out. Now, one of the things that could have also happened is we could have broken to the upside here, and that would actually negate the head and shoulder pattern. But sometimes what you end up seeing in head and shoulders patterns is you get a couple bounces, and then there's a little bit of volume that hits the chart, especially if the stock tends to be a little bit not necessarily overbought. So you could see that sometimes what ends up happening is you get this small little bounce and then you start to go lower just like that. But one of the things that I'm also seeing, and I'll use this measurement tool to highlight what could happen in the coming trading days. Now, generally when you break this neckline, sorry, let me get rid of that. So when you break the neckline of the head and shoulders, which I have highlighted in yellow here, let's actually I have it highlighted in white. Let's turn it a yellow, because I would say this is like a cautionary kind of area on whatever chart you're actually looking at. Whenever you break that neckline, generally it's going to be a swift decline to whatever the next point of resistance is, or you could actually measure out a targeted move, which I've done both here. So I'll do the next point of resistance first. That 200-day moving average is actually sitting right underneath the neckline. So what I could see happening, and I'm just going to move this out of the way for a quick sec so that way we can see what I'm about to draw here. One of the things that could happen in the next couple trading days is I mean, it could actually happen like today. It could drop 6% right on here very easily. Let me actually see what was the movement on this chart, or on this point right here. So this is a 3.5% down move on NVIDIA. So it's not unreasonable to think that like today, you could see this 6% drop on NVIDIA. That would actually take you to the 200-day moving average. From there, what you could expect is a retrace up to this neckline and then a continued move lower over the next probably couple weeks or whatever it may be. It depends on how heavy this starts to fall off. Like we were just talking, we were looking at the chart of silver on Metals and Momentum a couple weeks ago, and I was saying warning signal, like topping tail on the silver chart. You got to sell if you're considering selling this year. You got to exit that position. Well, look what happened to silver in a matter of a single trading day. So this could either play out not so dramatically, and then it also could play out dramatically. So one of the not so dramatic ways this could play out is you tap that 200-day moving average, you retrace up to the neckline, you get rejected off of the neckline, and then you head lower just like this. And the next area of support there is 149.20. You could see it, the price target laid out there. The other thing that head and shoulder patterns are really great at is setting a very clear price point. And there's a number of different ways that you get to this $149 value on the price per share there. One of the ways that you can do it is checking out when that next area of support is. Coming back a little bit, you could see that there's some area of support right here, but what also correlates with that area of support is also the full play out of this head and shoulders kind of pattern. Once you break that neckline, you essentially take the neckline to the top of the head, bring that lower, and you get your next target, which happens to be just under that support line. So what I think is probably more likely is you get a movement to that support line and then maybe a bounce, something like this. But if I were looking to exit NVIDIA around this area, I would definitely be looking at this head and shoulders pattern and going, holy smokes, there's about a 20, well, actually right now it's probably closer to about 16% downside. That is the risk in NVIDIA right now. And if I were really thinking about exiting, I would probably do so sooner than rather than later. Because this head and shoulders pattern, very reliable indicator, and this is always signaling that the next move after you break this neckline is always to the downside. And those targets, when you measure out from the neckline to the head of the head and shoulders pattern, these are always very, very accurate. So if you are an NVIDIA holder, I would consider stepping out of the way. Let this play out a little bit. Now, another thing that could also negate this whole head and shoulders kind of pattern is a sustained bump upward and a movement above these shoulders. So if we were to ever get in like this general area, again, then we've negated the head and shoulder pattern, and this big drop would be almost like, there's almost like no chance of that actually happening once you start to break the head and shoulder pattern there. So that's kind of what we do on Metals and Momentum for paid subscribers. If you're interested in joining my newsletter, there's, like I said, the free tier. Then there's also that paid tier. It's $9 Canadian per month. So if you're a US investor, that's something like $4 or something like that. So you can subscribe down in the links below. Also consider buying me a coffee. I'm exhausted today because we were analyzing the price of silver all last week. And we were able to actually call the top. And I was just like screaming from the top of my lungs to those investors invested in physical silver to sell right when we were closer to 119, saying that my price target for silver is $71. And if you want to check out that silver chart, where are we right now? We tapped $71 on the day. Now we're experiencing a little bit of a bounce, a recovery rally, but we're running right into major resistance here. And the next move is probably something something a little bit lower, closer to $54. So we nailed the top on the silver chart, and that was an unbelievable call. Super busy last week. I'm looking forward to a little bit of a more chill week this week with the paid members there. So if you're interested in joining me, join in the links down below. That's where I'm going to leave it. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.